Well, good afternoon, I think, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Joseph Losi, and I am honored to join you today as a Community Solutions Fellow with Thinkers Creek Watershed Partners. What I want to share with you isn't just a presentation, it's a part of my story, and I call it Soil Movements from the islands to Ohio. On the screen, you can see two places that hold my heart. On the left is Ohio, a place that has welcomed me and taught me so much in the just a few weeks. And on the right is the Solomon Islands, my home, where the land, rivers, and people shaped who I am. Now, these two places, they sit nearly 8,000 miles apart. But the more time I spend here, the more I see how deeply connected they are. The struggles we face back home, like soil erosion, polluted rivers, land pressure, are the same struggles communities here are fighting too. And once you see that connection, something shifts. And you realize that caring for the environment isn't just a local responsibility, it's a shared responsibility, one that crosses borders, cultures, and oceans. It becomes a shared duty, a shared hope, and ultimately a shared story. So today I'll share mine with you. For some context, let's begin with part one. So the Solomon Islands is located out in the South Pacific. In order for you to understand this journey, you first need to understand where I come from. So the Solomon Islands is a nation of 1,000 islands. I'm home to just over 700,000 people. And on this slide, you see some of our major islands, Guadalcanal, Malaita, New Georgia, Makera, Choiseul, and Isabel. Now, to many of you listening, these names may be new, but to me, they are living landscapes, places where people still depend directly on the land and sea every day. And in the Solomon Islands, life is woven into nature. Families grow their own food, drink from the streams, fish from the reefs that their ancestors protected. A river is a lifeline. A mountain is a clan's home. A garden is identity and survival. Because of this, our relationship with the land is intimate, not just transactional. And here's the transition. Although currently we are a parliamentary democracy with modern systems and elected leaders, our daily life is still guided by something much older, and we call it custom. Our law, our worldview, our moral compass. And at the center of custom is one principle. Land isn't owned by individuals. It is held in trust by tribes. Now, for example, on my island, land is owned by the women. And when your food, water, medicine, stories, and ancestry all come from the same soil, you don't own land, you belong to it. So when soil erodes and rivers turn muddy and forests disappear, it's not just environmental loss, it's cultural loss, it's spiritual loss, it's the unraveling of who we are. And that deep relationship with land, born from an island life and carried across generations, is what I bring with me all the way from the Solomon Islands to Ohio. What I've shared about custom and our connection to the land isn't just abstract, it's lived daily in the places we call home. Now, to really understand this, let's look at the geography that shapes our lives. Now, this satellite view gives you a sense of our islands, a long chain stretching across the South Pacific, each blanketed in dense tropical rainforest. Up close here, this is my island of Guadalcanal, the place where my story begins. When I look at this image, I don't just see land. I see my childhood, my people, and the forest and the rivers that raised us. Our government is layered. The national government, we have the provincial government, but at the foundation is tribal and custom system that guide everyday life. Now, this complexity is both a strength, preserving our identity, culture, and community. And sometimes it is a challenge, especially when development pressures move faster than the system can adapt. Now, looking at Gorakanal from above, it's easy to see why the land has shaped our lives so deeply. But these islands are more than home. They are also places where history unfolded and where local knowledge, courage, and sacrifice intersected with the wider world. Now, our connection to the United States is not new. It was forged in history and sacrifice. Back in 1942, during the Guadalcanal campaign, the first Allied offensive in the Pacific, US Marines landed on Guadalcanal, on Tulagi and Florida. And in this intense fighting that followed, local Solomon Islanders played a role, vital roles as scouts, coast watchers, guides, assisting the US forces. And this story reminds us that our islands have been places where global events meet local lives, where communities draw on resilience, knowledge of the land, and collective effort to meet challenges. Now, the story of Guadalcanal doesn't end on the battlefields. The history of my island is written not only in our forests and rivers, it is also written in the scars of war. The Second World War left more than memories. It left behind infrastructure that still shapes our daily lives today. As you can see from the slide, our main international gateway today, Honiara International Airport, carries the name of the US Marine Corps, a Major Lofton R. Henderson, the first Marine aviator killed at the Battle of Midway. Now, the capture of this place was really strategic. This airstrip was built by the Japanese in 1942. And when the US Marines landed on Guadalcanal, August 7, 1942, their immediate mission was to secure this unfinished landing strip. And today, the same ground thousands of Solomon Islanders pass through every time we travel. This campaign became a defining turning point in the war, but for us, it also created something lasting, a deep and enduring bond between our nations. And today, as we talk about soil, water, and community resilience, it reminds me that our shared history is not just about conflict, it's about connection, our responsibility, and the ways our story connect to shape one another. Now, that shared history of struggle, resilience, and connection didn't just end with the war. It was later formalized in a very visible and meaningful way. The building you see here is our national parliament. It was a $5 million gift from the United States government. It was constructed in honor of the US servicemen who gave their lives during the Battle of Guadalcanal. For us Solomon Islanders, this building is not just where laws are debated. It is a symbol carved into our capital city. A daily reminder of sacrifice, partnership, and the history that ties the Solomon Islands and the United States together. It stands as a physical bridge between our past and our present. And it reminds us that cooperation across borders is not new. It is something we have lived, fought for, and continue to build. So just as our national parliament stands as a symbol of partnership and history, other landmarks around Guadalcanal carry the echoes of World War II. Take our National Referral Hospital, which many of us in the Solomon Islands still call Number 9. That nickname comes from its origin as the 9th American Field Hospital, established during the war. It is a reminder that even our most essential services, the places where our children are born, families seek healing, and lives are saved, are shaped by that conflict. The war left its mark not only on our land, but on the institutions that we depend on every single day. And looking at these landmarks, it's clear that history isn't just in the past. It lives in the spaces we inhabit, the systems we rely on, and the connections we continue to build. A reminder that our stories and the lessons of resilience and cooperation still shaping our present. Now, we've seen how history shaped our islands, our institutions, and our connections across the nations. These stories of resilience and partnership are part of who we are. But today, Guadalcanal and Solomon Islands face a challenge that hits closer to home. One that touches every family, every community, and every piece of land we depend on. Enough of history. Now let's shift gears and see the crisis that is staring at the very heart of my people. Over 80% of Solomon Islanders live in rural areas, relying mostly entirely on subsistence farming and our forests for survival and the sea. And our soil isn't just dirt, it's our bank, our grocery, our lifeline. Forests in our islands cover nearly 80 to 85% of island land, but this is under threat. These forests are our water towers. The clear streams that flow through them are where we drink, wash, fish, and live. But there's a darker story. Between 1990 and 2005, we lost more than 590,000 hectares of forest, over 21% of our forest cover. Year after year, trees come down, and with them, our future. When that forest disappears, so does our way of life. Our water is polluted, streams dry up, our gardens fail, and our children's safety is threatened. This isn't just this isn't just destruction. It's an eradication of land, culture, of hope. And this is where our story begins to take its darkest turn. You see, when the forests disappear and the seas are depleted, our way of life is directly threatened. Our waters become polluted, streams dry up, gardens fail, and our children's safety is at risk. Now, this isn't just an environmental loss, it's the erosion of culture, of hope, and of everything that sustains us. And that brings us to part two, the crisis that we face now. What you see here is not just an image, it is everyday reality for many communities across the Solomon Islands. The aftermath of unchecked development, rapid deforestation, and slow, painful erosion of the very soil our lives depend on. Now, you may notice a phrase I often use. I've put it up on the slide. Soil movements. This is not just a hashtag. It is my personal campaign, my voice in the noise, my way of calling attention to what is happening to our land, to our people, and our future. Soil movement is a reminder that when the soil moves, everything moves. Our rivers, our gardens, our homes, our identity. It is the banner under which I speak, advocate, and fight for the land that raised me. This is why a soil movement exists, and this is why I'm here today. Now, we've seen on the other slides how the soil, forest, and seas are the lifeblood of our communities, and how quickly they can be damaged when the balance is broken. But the threat doesn't stop with nature alone. The intrusion of outsiders and the industries shows how fragile our systems really are. Before I showed you the effects of logging on our tribal lands, but the truth is, logging was only the beginning. It arrived, it caused destruction, and even before our communities could heal, mining began to push in as the next move. These images show exactly what this intrusion looks like. On the ground, you see a logging company entering tribal lands, despite strong objections from local landowners. And in the Solomon Islands, land is held communally by tribes, but our system is weak. All it takes is the signature of a single tribal member. Sometimes they are misled, sometimes pressured by money, and then a company can legally begin operations, even when the majority of the tribe is firmly against it. And this is the result. Forests are stripped bare, habitats destroyed, and deep drainage ditches carved into the earth for logging. These same ditches become channels that carry sediment, oil, and waste straight into our streams, the lifelines that feed rivers and sustain families living high in the hills. Now, as communities struggle with the damage left behind by logging, mining companies are exploiting the same weaknesses, the same divisions, the same loopholes, the same pressure points. Promises may look hopeful on paper, but the risks are painfully familiar. Polluted waterways, loss of land, weakened governance, and communities torn apart. This is what happens when development moves faster than dialogue, when companies move faster than communities, and when profit moves faster than protection. The land suffers, the people suffer, and the damage does not stay in one place. It flows downstream, touching everyone who depends on these waters. Now, I've seen firsthand the scars left by logging, the ditches and the hills, and today, the way mining threatens to repeat the same destruction. This isn't just about trees or soil. The damage flows directly into the lives of our people. And this is where the human cost becomes impossible to ignore. The so-called logging roads don't stay roads for long. They collapse into deep scars on the hillside, channels that widen every rain. And when the rain comes, they don't just bring water. They bring mud, they bring oil, they bring chemicals and waste, all pouring into our streams like veins, carrying poison into the heart of the land. Our rivers, the same rivers our grandparents drank from, turn brown overnight. The water we have trusted to cook, to wash our children, to sustain life, becomes unsafe. Our families get sick. Our children suffer first. And today, now mining is waiting at the gates of my community. It hasn't even started, but the fear it brings is real. Poor regulations, weak enforcement, and government support leave our communities vulnerable. We know from logging what unchecked development can do, and we cannot ignore signs. We cannot ignore these warning signs. This is more than environmental destruction. This is a public health crisis. This is the human cost of development without responsibilities. When decisions are made without community consent and without care for the generation, we must live with the consequences. As you can see from this slide, a few years ago, we gathered together to stand against a logging operation. You can see that moment in these images, the unity, the courage, the belief that together we could protect our land. For a brief moment, there was hope and there was strength. But only weeks later, some of the very same people you see in these photos signed off their own land to the company. Not because they didn't care, but because they were pressured, cornered, or simply trying to survive. This is the painful truth we live with. The fight between conservation and cash, between protecting our land and feeding our families, is tearing our communities apart from the inside. And now, with mining looming on the horizon, the danger is even greater. The promises are bigger, the pressure is heavier, and the cost to our forests, our rivers, our identity, and our future grows every single day. I've seen how pressure, poverty, cohesion can tear communities apart, and how logging and mining exploit these vulnerabilities. I've tried again and again to rally our people, to help them see how these development projects quietly creep into our lives and onto our land. Many listen and many agree. But the hard truth is, when I cannot provide an alternative to the immediate needs like food, school fees, basic survival, logging and mining start to feel like the only doors left open. That painful reality forced me to rethink my approach. And I realized that shouting from the outside was just not enough. Real change must grow from within, through leadership, through planning, through transparency, and through accountability. That realization led me to step into a new role. So today, I lead as chair of the Paripa Ward Development Committee. Here, it's all volunteer work. We work every day to create a practicable, sustainable solution. Ways for our people to meet their needs without sacrificing the land that gives us life. This is the heart of my work. And this is why I stand here today and I'm speaking to you. Because if we do not build alternatives, the cycle will never break. And the rivers, forests, and communities we love will continue to pay the price. The lessons I've learned from watching our community struggle, the tensions between immediate needs and long-term survival, have deeply shaped how I approach leadership. And as elected ward chair, I realized that real change requires not just advocacy, but careful planning, resource management, and collaboration with my people. Now, in this role as chair, I serve as the official link between, in the 2019 um, count of people, we were around 4,000, 3,842 people. And the provincial government gives my committee an annual grant of around 17,000 US dollars, which is 140,000 Solomon dollars, um, which is not much, but it forces us to be strategic. Every dollar must count. Our primary focus over the last almost 10, 15, almost 6, 7 years since I've been chair has been meeting basic needs, clean water, education, and health. Yet the scope of these needs often exceeds our resources. Um, Road access, for example, is a huge challenge. Fixing and maintaining roads is expensive, far beyond what our annual budget can cover. And this reality means that we must operate differently. We provide essential materials, but the communities themselves must contribute labor and ingenuity to complete these projects. While this limits our ability to focus on economic or conservation incentives, it also reinforces a key principle that I have come to found. Sustainable development must start with careful planning, community participation, and accountability. And managing limited resources is only part of the challenge. The other, perhaps even bigger, is logistics. And this is what community-driven development looks like. First, we purchased materials in the capital. Look like those are massive water tanks. I think they are like 5,000 liters, which is 1,000 plus gallons. And we transport them home. And this is probably the hardest part, getting them home. So we load them onto trucks for the long, grueling journey back to our ward. Every trip is a battle against the elements, navigating the same muddy, washed out logging roads that have caused the water problems. It is exhausting, expensive, and often frustrating. Yet, despite these obstacles, we keep going because every tank, every drop of water delivered, every project represents hope, health, in a small but meaningful step towards giving my people the services they deserve. And delivering water and other essential materials is only part of the story. Transport itself is one of our biggest hurdles, and it is more than just an infrastructure problem. If you look at this video, um, people are pulling a vehicle up a steep hill, a vivid reminder that access is a daily struggle. These challenges are barriers to survival, to development, and to breaking cycles of dependence. They show why careful planning, community participation, and ingenuity are essential. Because when roads fail, and believe me, they do, everything else fails. And this is my favorite part. After all the planning and the trucks getting stuck and the struggle with the roads, this is where the heart of development truly shines, when the community takes over. You see, when the truck gets stuck, and believe me, they always do, the people show up and we pull together using ropes, our hands, our strength, and sheer determination to get the equipment moving. Every tank, every bag of cement, every tool is offloaded by hand, and there are no shortcuts, only dedication, sweat, and teamwork. And this is what ownership looks like. This is what community looks like in action. It's messy, it's hard, but it's ours, and it's beautiful. And this is the result. This is why we keep going. You see, these are examples of what we have done: a brand new, reliable water harvesting tank at the community, giving children clean water to drink. The other one, a family drawing water from a safe, clean tap right in their own village, something they could only dream of before. This is resilience. This is hope. This is the future we are building together. A healthier, stronger community shaped by our hands, sweat, and determination. This is why every challenge, every muddy road, and every heavy lift is worth it. The success we just saw is not just an isolated moment, it's part of a pattern, a way of working that turns challenges into lasting change. Here are a few of our achievements over the years, like this water tank in community high school up in Lower Paripao. This project shows that accountability really means something. So every dollar we spent was carefully planned and monitored, but the real strength was the community, the people of Tenakonga Community High School didn't just watch. They built it with their own hands. They carried the materials, helped with the installation, and took ownership of the project. And this is trust. This is how trust is earned and why the impact lasts. When the community leads, progress becomes real, tangible, and lasting. Just like you saw in Tenakonga, this is another one. This is a community hall up in the center of Guadalcanal in a place called Primary High School. This is more than just a building. It's a space where children can learn, events can be held, and the community can come together. Again, the key to this success was accountability, community involvement, and my team ensured every dollar was accounted for, but the whole wouldn't exist without the people of the community leading the effort, carrying materials, shaping the structure, and seeing the project through. It's a perfect example of how trust and dedication transforms limited resources into lasting progress. A final one here is a water tank up literally in the highlands of Guadalcanal. The journey to build this tank was long and challenging, but it demonstrates the principle we live by. Accountability builds credibility. Every expense was documented, every decision was transparent, because we respect both the community and the government support that made this possible. The people themselves turned this project into reality, carrying the materials up, assembling the tank, ensuring it serves everyone in the village. This is resilience, and this is hope, and this is the future built by the hands of the people it serves. And yet, even with careful planning, community effort, and accountability, not every project reaches completion. Sometimes, despite the best intentions, collaboration fails short and projects are left incomplete. This clinic is a painful example. It was fully funded by the provincial government and it was meant to serve the community and meet the critical health need. But till today, it has never opened. Why? Because of one crucial detail was missed. There is no staff house for the nurse. Without this, the clinic cannot operate. Now, my committee tried to solve the problem, but we stretched our limited funds to begin building the staff house, if you can see on the left. But today, it's unfinished like that. I took that photo just a few months before I came. This is what happens when a project is driven by community need, but practical realities on the ground are not fully understood. And the real tragedy is for the people. The village is in the center of Guadalcanal. When the roads are impassable, villages must walk 3 or 4 hours to get care. And then villages have to walk another 3 or 4 hours to come back home. Back there, we have a building, but not a clinic. It's hard, humbling lesson. A development must not only be well intentioned, it must be well planned, practical, and fully grounded in the realities of people it aims to serve. And this is what brought me here. 8,000 miles from home. This is the bridge to Ohio. I came to the US as a community solutions fellow to learn from others who are facing similar challenges to my own. I got placed here with Tinkers Creek Watershed, and what I discovered, the problems are remarkably the same. The only difference is the source. It was a powerful reminder that whether in Guadalcanal or in Ohio, communities struggle with water, development, and sustainability. And the solutions come when people come together to take ownership and lead. So I've been with Tinkers Creek, and Tinkers Creek is a major and beautiful part of the Cuyahoga River watershed. I have been privileged to be hosted by Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners, so we sometimes say TCWP, and their mission is clear and focused. They are to protect and restore water quality and vital habitats throughout strong community partnership. Every day they are on the ground doing the crucial work, restoring stream banks, leading cleanups, educating the public tirelessly. This experience has been an eye-opener. Back home, we simply don't have dedicated teams like this. For my people, our survival depends on the health of our ecosystem. Yet, we are constantly threatened by issues like logging and mining contamination. What I realized here is powerful. The fight To protect the environment in Ohio is fundamentally the same fight we face in Guadalcanal. The lessons I'm learning here will no doubtedly help me bring new solutions or knowledge and energy back to my community. And this is a realization that truly connects us all. Bridging my community back home with the missions of group like TCWP. Back home in the Solomons, our biggest threat is massive deforestation. Here in Ohio, the core challenges look different. Urbanization. It is not logging roads, but the sheer expense of concrete and asphalt that prevents water from naturally soaking into the earth. Yet the environmental outcome is strikingly familiar. The result is exactly what we see at home. Massive soil destruction. Here it shows up as severe stream bank erosion, loss of habitat, chemical pollution carried by runoff. This experience is a powerful reminder. Despite our different circumstances, poverty and logging in Guadalcanal, wealth and urbanization in Ohio, the battle is the same. We are all fighting to protect our land, our water, and our future. And if the environmental challenges weren't enough, here is the most striking parallel between Ohio and home. In my community, one of our greatest hurdles is getting tribes and the community government to work together effectively. Coordination is difficult and it often slows or stalls important projects. Here in Ohio, Tinkers Creek watershed crosses 24 different municipal jurisdictions, 24 mayors and 24 city councils, all trying to manage a single shared water system. It is the same exact problem of governance complexity. The underlying question is identical. How do we balance development and growth while protecting the environment? It made me realize that whether in Guadalcanal or here in Ohio, leadership, collaboration, and community engagement are at the heart of every solution. Whether in Guadalcanal or here in Ohio, the challenges are strikingly similar. So that's what brought me, and that's why I have created something that when I return home, I will be doing. So I created Roots and Rivers, or sometimes I call it soil movements. It is my community action plan for when I return home in January. The project will restore soil, waterways, and strengthen local food systems by combining traditional knowledge with hands-on action. Through planting and agroforestry and community engagement, it reconnects people to the land that sustains them and ensures that rivers, forests, and food systems endure. So, Roots and Rivers is more than a project, it's a bridge between places, lessons, and communities, showing that that when we take responsibility for the soil beneath our feet, we are shaping a healthier future for generations to come. Now, this project will thrive because of the people, youth, families, and students. They will come together to plant native trees and grow rainforest-friendly food plants. I hope engaging communities ensures that the work is meaningful, lasting, and locally led. By the end of next year, or at least by June, we aim to plant around 500 to 1,000 native trees and introduce agroforestry systems with rainforest-compatible food plants. I'm planning to use at least over 50 community members, have them actively involved in planting and in the work, and hopefully have a strong connection between people and the environment. So, Roots and Rivers shows that true environmental stewardship begins with the community, and that is what I'm hoping to achieve when I go back and implement the project. So that when people understand and care for the land that sustains them, meaningful change takes roots. By planting native trees and creating agroforestry system, we will help forests, rivers, and food sources thrive, preserving culture, environment, and livelihoods for generations to come. Now, this work will be made possible through communities and partners and friends near. And I'm hoping if you're listening in, you will be able to join me. I have a Facebook page. It's called Jojo Saon. I'll put it in the chat. And feel free to come and follow, support, give encouragement as we try and do these efforts to grow and endure. Finally, this work has brought me full circle. I began my journey in the Solomon Islands, helping communities strive to access basic services. Then I came here to Ohio to continue that work with Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners. What I've learned is powerful. The challenges are remarkably similar, whether it's unsustainable logging, eroding a riverbank in Guadalcanal, or urban development polluting a stream in the Tinkers Creek watershed. The root cause is a breakdown in our stewardship of the land. The soil is moving in both places, and where it lands, the responsibility falls to us. Roots and Rivers is my way of honoring that responsibility, bridging lessons from the Solomon Islands and Ohio, and protecting the land, water, and future of the communities I serve. This brings me to my conclusion. My time here has taught me that water is the greatest connector. It does not respect our political borders or our property lines. The universal truth is stewardship is the most powerful force for watershed health. We must champion sustainable land use, whether we are fighting loggers and miners in a tropical forest or advocating for green infrastructure in an urban city. Our shared future is in our shared waters. Our shared responsibility is not about solving a problem on a different continent. It's about recognizing that actions we take here right now are part of the same global equation. The commitment of a community in the islands to protect the Cuyahoga River and the streams that feed it. This is all similar. A healthy watershed is not a government's job alone. It's not a charity project. It is the direct results of local personal stewardship. Now, my people have had to fight with almost nothing, limited funds, failing roads, and the pressures of companies pushing for access to our land. But here we have something incredibly powerful: strong institutions, community organizations, and citizens who care. Groups like Tinkers Creek Watershed Partners already know the path. Plant a tree, join a cleanup, advocate for zoning that protects our waterways. Your hands, your voice, your presence, they matter more than you think. You've probably heard of this a lot of times. Think globally, act locally. So if a village in the Solomon Island can stand together to protect its rivers with no machines, no money, sometimes no road, if they can carry pipes on their shoulders, build tanks with their own hands, and guard their forests with whatever little they have, then surely we, all of us here, can protect this watershed with the resources and knowledge we already possess. Because the truth is, we are all connected. We are all downstream from someone. And the choices we make, whether on an island in the Pacific or here in Ohio, decide the future of our water, our land, our children. And I think that brings us to the end. Thank you. I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you, Matt.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joseph. Does anybody have any questions? You can feel free to unmute or type it in the chat. No questions? All right. Well, it's been a really great privilege to have Joseph and our other fellow Jim in the office for the past few months. They are going to be heading back next week or into DC for a week next week, and then going back to take what they've learned and start their projects. We wish them the best, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch and post updates if we get any on the really important work that they've been doing. But with that, I guess we'll wrap the presentation. Joseph, thank you again. That was great. And thank you again to everybody for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.